Hello there guys, what is going on? Daniel Childs back here again for another edition of Let's Talk Chelsea. Hope you're doing well and keeping safe on this Tuesday. Another day closer to the start of the World Cup, but there's still some Chelsea news to dig into. In today's video, going to be looking at the new recruitment structure, another appointment from Brighton, Chelsea getting a lot of people from Brighton this season, and are Chelsea turning into Brighton? We'll get into that and kind of whether that's true or not. We'll also look at Edouard Mendy's future. That's been in question regarding sort of his contract and whether he may want to leave the club at the end of the season given his sort of playing time. And then finally looking at some potential attacking targets in January. But before we get into any of that good stuff, I want to ask you guys, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss any of the uploads on the channel. Also hit that like button because it helps new people find the content across the World Cup as well. But let's get into it. Firstly here, a statement released by Chelsea on Tuesday afternoon that Chelsea is pleased to announce that Paul Winstanley has been appointed to the role of Director of Global Talent and Transfers. Winstanley arrives at Stamford Bridge after 8 years with Brighton, initially as Talent Identification Manager and then as Head of Recruitment. Winstanley played a major role as Brighton built a reputation for finding and developing talent. It also says here that Winstanley will join Chelsea immediately, so compared to another appointment, Joe Shields, that was made from Southampton, he will start working immediately, which is great to hear. Winstanley, like Lawrence Stewart from Monaco and like Joe Shields from Southampton, it's not a massive shock this announcement has been made. It was quite clear. I think The Athletic reported it firstly regarding Chelsea being in talks with Winstanley, and now the deal's been done and he is going to join Chelsea. It's great he's getting straight to work because Chelsea may be busy in January again, as we know that we've been speaking about that consistently on the channel, and you hope with the expertise that is being brought in, Chelsea can make the right decisions moving forward rather than make flippant short-term decisions in the transfer window that don't really improve us that much and kind of waste money in each window. Chelsea, obviously, as we move forward with this new ownership, are going to have to be, I think, a lot more shrewder in these transfer windows. So we'll see how that plays out, whether it has an instant effect, we will see. So yeah, I said this at the start of the video. Are Chelsea turning into Brighton? Another person appointed from Brighton, Winstanley got a lot of respect, obviously worked alongside Graham Potter whilst he was there, and seeing some of the great transfers that club has made in recent years and in profit. Mark Cucurella is a great example. Ben White going to Arsenal as well. They've obviously done a lot of great work there. And it's sort of made as a jibe between, you know, not only maybe outside of Chelsea, but Chelsea fans sort of dismissing it. We're turning into Brighton. This is awful. We've got the head coach. We're not doing well on the pitch at the moment. We've got players from Brighton in Mark Cucurella. We're linked to players from Brighton. If Chelsea turn into Brighton in the sense that with our level of wealth and expertise and the players we can attract, if we outperform expectation like Brighton have, if we play an attractive blend of football, if our players offer great value, we make competent transfers that actually improve the team and make sense, and we have a unified sort of team and club that we love and sort of the players that we love. You see the positivity around Brighton in recent years of Graham Potter and now with De Zerbi. Is that an awful thing? You know, it's a stupid, you know, social media term, right? And it's a stupid, I know why people are saying it, because they think we're going to turn into some sort of lower mid-table club that gets nowhere near the top of the Premier League again, because of course things haven't been going well on the pitch. But there's that. I just think that's silly, and those are all things that we've criticised about Chelsea. I don't know why that would be a bad thing. And on another thing that's been criticised at the club's new owners, Todd Boehly, regarding sort of a lack of expertise, that is exactly what Chelsea are bringing in here. I don't think you can doubt the people Chelsea are bringing in. Lawrence Stewart from Monaco, Joe Shields from Southampton, now Paul Winstanley from Brighton. There's a potential of Christopher Weivl from RB Leipzig, Stuart Webber from Norwich as well has been talked about. These are all people sure have worked at different levels in different clubs in different environments, but have done good work. So the idea that Boehly is just dismissing expertise is just, it's undermined, and this is the greatest rebuttal of just bringing these people in. Whether the think tank, as it's been referred to in terms of a recruitment structure, actually gels together, and whether these people who've been successful at other clubs can do similar at Chelsea is the big question. It's the same question in a similar, like the similar way to we sort of question Graham Potter, you know, achieving things and improving teams at a certain level of expectation and sort of wealth and what's expected of you at Brighton compared to what's expected of you at Chelsea, which maybe he's struggling with at the moment. Obviously, those are the big questions, but I feel these are exciting additions, and hopefully it's going to build the team and the structure that we want to see, that Chelsea can start to compete in the transfer window, in the sense that we're buying players that actually improve the squad and make a lot of sense. So hopefully that's the case in the coming months. Let's speak about Edouard Mendy. This report came out, I think, last night from the Daily Mail regarding Mendy's future, who is apparently weighing up his Chelsea exit after losing his first team place to Kepa since Graham Potter took charge. Mendy apparently remains hopeful that he can convince Graham Potter that he deserves to reclaim his position as Chelsea's number one goalkeeper. There are fears that Potter has already decided that Kepa will start as first choice again next month. Yeah, it's kind of weird that, you know, Mendy was out of the frame and you're kind of like, when is he going to get game time? And naturally, with the way things have gone at Chelsea in recent months, players get injured and Kepa gets injured, and then of course Mendy comes back into the team. I don't think he's played that badly since he's come in. He's had to make some big saves. Of course, Chelsea have lost games, but, you know, I compared to, say, the first run of games under Tuchel where he got a lot of criticism, I don't think you can have the same of Mendy in recent games, in my opinion. I don't sort of apportion blame to him personally for the goals Chelsea have conceded. I think a lot of it has been the defenders in front of him. But Kepa obviously improved things, and it was such a shame for Kepa because, you know, this revival, this comeback that none of us expected. And given the way tactically I think he fits into what Graham Potter wants to do with Chelsea, it's understandable. And I would expect that by the time we reach Bournemouth, if Kepa is fit, I suspect that Kepa starts, because I don't think Kepa did anything wrong to lose his place when he was in that good run of form. But with Mendy, I mean, if this was to turn out, you know, Mendy, it's crazy how quickly things have changed, because back in the summer there were reports over him getting a new contract. At the start of this year, he'd won awards from FIFA. He was kind of top of the world. He'd won, you know, UEFA Goalkeeper of the Year, I think, when we won the Champions League. He looked like one of Chelsea's best value signings in recent years, and I still think that is the case. Whatever happens with Mendy, I still think he is one of the best signings we have made in recent years. For 22 million, what Chelsea got out of him for at least one season with a Champions League win is still a bit ridiculous. And the story of Mendy is incredible as well and inspirational. So I love the guy. I want to see him do well at Chelsea, but if it doesn't turn out that he's our long-term first choice keeper, I still think we can regard the transfer itself from Rennes as a success in 2020. I really do. But this is just a natural case of players. We see it so many times at Chelsea, the constant chopping and changing of head coach. There is collateral damage with players, because, you know, you're maybe relevant under one coach, but then that changes and you're no longer you know, in the plans, and then players have to be sold. And this is, you know, this kind of links into what I was just speaking about with the recruitment and having a consistent vision. Will it turn out as extreme as that? Will Mendy stay? We'll see how this goes. It is only one report, but it would not surprise me if for the second half of the season he remains on the bench. He's maybe thinking about his options, and we don't know, maybe Chelsea could be targeting new keepers in the coming transfer windows. We'll see on that as well. And lastly here from Ben Jacobs, a tweet regarding Cristiano Ronaldo, of course, who I spoke about yesterday in regards to that ridiculous interview with Piers Morgan. The full thing, I think, was released last night, but this is regarding Jorge Mendes, who apparently will offer Ronaldo to Chelsea again in January, but any possible move remains complicated. Tuchel was the main roadblock last summer, refusing to hold a serious conversation. He spoke to Ralf Rangnick and became immovably against the idea and irritated whenever raised. Chelsea now have other forwards in mind for January and beyond. Christopher Nkunku is close, Rafa Leao remains on the radar, and Ivan Toney is being looked at. There is less to Victor Osimhen links right now due to how settled he is at Napoli and price challenges. I spoke about Ronaldo yesterday. My stance hasn't changed. You know, still doesn't make a lot of sense, and Chelsea shouldn't be going for him. Christopher Nkunku, it looks like it's going to get done, or at the very least, you know, Chelsea feel very confident that they can get it done in January. There still is a bit of conflicting reports over whether he'd actually join in January. I still suspect that won't be the case. It will kind of be a bit like maybe the Christian Pulisic deal we made, where he joins in the summer for next season, because, you know, Leipzig, I don't think would want to lose him, and I think it'd be favourable for them to not sell him in January. But we'll see on that front whether he will. If he did join in January, that'd be absolutely massive for Chelsea season and a massive surprise, to be honest. But it's good that at least some deal is close to being done for 2023. That could be massive. Rafa Leao, who of course Chelsea played against in the Champions League with AC Milan. You know, I made my opinions clear on him at the time. I think there are frailties to his game. I think there are things, particularly off the ball, that are quite important in the game that you kind of need. That Chelsea badly exposed in the first game. You know, when Rafa Leao wasn't tracking back, Reece James had a lot of space to operate in, and obviously that undermined AC Milan a lot in that second half at Stamford Bridge. But he has a lot of great attributes, I think, on the ball specifically and physically as well. I could see as sort of a wide player coming into the league, he'd really impose himself, I think, quite quickly. Scary when he gets running on the ball, really, and obviously has a lot of productivity to his game. Ivan Toney, I mean, I like Ivan Toney, I really do, and it's, you know, the praise he's getting at the moment for what is it, a really good season at Brentford once again, adapting to the Premier League, scoring goals consistently, scored 2 at the weekend to win the game at Man City, not being taken to the World Cup, which is great for Thomas Frank and Brentford. It really is, because he's going to be fresh for the second half of the season. But for him, you know, it's just another great example that, you know, people would have dismissed him when he was in the Championship and was banging in goals for Brentford. Believe he was at Peterborough years ago and was banging in goals. You know, and it's just a classic case where you'll see probably players now who are thriving in the Championship who people will just dismiss and say it's not good enough standards, you know, we don't need players of that quality, Chelsea should be aiming higher. But it's just such great proof that there is talent out there if you bring them up to the Premier League, and Brentford are very much reaping the rewards on that. Whether Chelsea will go in for him, I like watching Ivan Toney play. I think he causes havoc, and he's the perfect fit for that club currently of what they're trying to do on a regular basis. So it's exciting as well. Osimhen, I think, would be staying at Napoli at least for this season. They're doing incredibly well. I think they're 8 points clear in Serie A, so it takes something ridiculous to get him out of that club in January. But Nkunku, I also think, is the most rounded of those players in my opinion, or at least the one that I'd say ticks a lot of boxes. When I've watched him and seeing what he could bring to Chelsea, I'd be excited to see. Maybe in a year's time we feel a lot different if he's struggling at Chelsea, as a lot of new attacking players have at the club. But we will see. What do you think, guys? Do you think that maybe Nkunku is the best choice here? Do you think some of those other targets, do you think Ivan Toney would be your sort of your dream target that Chelsea should be prioritising? Let me know in the comments below. But that is it for today's edition of Let's Talk Chelsea. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch it. If you did enjoy it, hit that subscribe button and a notification bell so you don't miss any of the uploads on the channel. Follow me on Twitter at SonOfChelsea, and I'll see you again very soon. All the best.